First up, patron comments. As far as I'm aware, we don't have anyone signed up. So we will move on to the approval of the minutes. We have all received minutes from the February 18th regular meeting. Are there any further discussions on the minutes? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
And the vote, please.
Mr. Archibald,
Yes.
Mr. Beard,
Yes.
Mr. Caswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maggart,
Yes.
Mr. Poor,
Aye.
Mr. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Mr. Sturry.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 7-0. Approval of claims. Any questions, comments regarding the claims? Do we have a motion for the claims?
I make a motion, we go ahead and approve the claims as presented.
I'll second.
And the vote, please.
Mr. Archibald,
Yes.
Mr. Beard,
Yes.
Mr. Caswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maggart,
Yes.
Mr. Poor,
Aye.
Mr. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Mr. Sturry.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0. Personnel considerations. Dr. Wiedenover.
Good evening, Board. In your packet, you do have personnel considerations for this evening. In your packet, you will see retirements, resignations, termination, appointments, and reassignments. So I ask that you approve those considerations as presented.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the personnel considerations as is.
I'll second that.
And the vote, please.
Mr. Archibald,
Yes.
Mr. Beard,
Yes.
Mr. Caswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maggart,
Yes.
Mr. Poor,
Aye.
Mr. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Mr. Sturry.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. We do not have anything on the agenda for special reports. Old business, one item, retention and extracurricular athletic program, policy 6121. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Board. I think there's one correction. I think it's Board Policy 6146. So just note that on your form there. At the last meeting, Mark brought up some very good questions about this policy, and so we went back and we discussed it much further. It's a policy we'd like to remove for a few different reasons. One, like Mark said, I cannot remember at any point a student being retained at the middle school level. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's very, very rare, and it'd even be more rare for an athletic purpose. Number two, we only have 3 sports that are grade level specific at the middle school: basketball, football, and volleyball. Everything else is varsity, JV, and exhibition or reserve. So you still have students that are 8th grade participating against 6th grade and vice versa, depending on their ability at that level. And then also, it kind of washes itself out at the next level, at the high school level. When you think about the HSA holds the rule of 20, so students would age out if they turn 20 before the state finals of that specific sport. So retention does happen at the lower levels, so we are seeing older kids at middle school anyways. Parents choose to hold their kids back starting school too. So those ages at the middle school, again, for this purpose, it's already happening. We don't need a policy. If we have students that are being retained, we would have that conversation to discuss before, making that final decision. But at this time, we would like to remove Board Policy 6146 from altogether.
Are there any questions, comments regarding?
I just have one quick question, and I certainly agree with what Andrew said here. If we're removing a policy from the board policy, does it go through readings like when we approve policy?
This would have been our second read anyways. We're going to consider this a second reading, so with modifications and amendments to it. So we've already checked with our legal counsel that it just takes a vote by you all, a majority vote, to remove the policy. So we'll vote on this one if you're after all your questions have been answered.
Do we have a motion?
I go ahead and make a motion that we remove policy 6146 from the board policy manual.
And the vote, please.
Mr. Archibald,
Yes.
Mr. Beard,
Yes.
Mr. Caswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maggart,
Yes?
Mr. Poor,
Aye.
Mr. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Mr. Sturry.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Carries 7-0. New business. First up, Mrs. Partial, food service agreement.
Good evening, Board. I am here in regards to the Food to School cooperative that food service has participated in the last several years. Food to School is a co-op that helps us procure bids for our groceries, bread, and dairy products that we use for our menus. This Food to School helps simplify this process for us and helps us get more competitive in our bidding process. So at this time, I would like to recommend to the board that for the 2025-2026 school year, food service continues to utilize the Food to School co-op for the bids of purchase of milk, bread, and groceries.
Any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we go ahead and approve for the food service agreement?
I'll second that.
And the vote, please.
Mr. Beard, Mr. Archibald,
Yes.
Mr. Beard,
Yes.
Mr. Caswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maggart,
Yes.
Mr. Poor,
Aye.
Mr. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Sturry.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Ray Lou, textbook updates.
Board, in your packet, you have a grid with recommended resources. These are resources that are primarily going to be used for dual credit courses. There's not anything on here that is a new offering, but these are textbooks that will be used at that level. So I'm asking your permission to go ahead and approve those. Based on enrollment and based on staffing, we may purchase or may not purchase these, but we want to have those approved.
I know that most of these are, they put them on computer, they're apps, they put them on whatever they put on to them. That is most of what we do, but we get one set normally for the classroom, in case somebody does need to read it or.
So many of these come hard copy and, so students have both. So resources are available on their device as well as, a couple of these come as fillers that you put in a notebook. Some come in hardbound actual books, but all of these students would have copies of both, just because of how they're sold at the university level. The theater one that's on here is actually just a hardbound, and the Indiana history dual credit text is just a hardbound.
So that's a 6-year like we did before on the elementary.
That's correct.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
And the vote, please.
Mr. Archibald,
Yes.
Mr. Beard,
Yes.
Mr. Caswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maggart,
Yes.
Mr. Poor,
Aye.
Mr. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Mr. Sturry.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0. And last up for new business, Dr. Penrod, permission to dispose of broken used band instruments.
So from time to time, we've done this in the past too, but from time to time, we have to dispose of goods that we used to use and now do not, and have become obsolete. So we can't do that just on our own, and we need the board to grant us permission to do so by declaring those goods obsolete. In this case, it's band instruments, and so we've been working through that with the band department or the music department. Dr. Wiedenhofer's met with them to kind of set out a schedule of how to replace some of these older instruments And as we get these in and replaced, then these new ones need to be exited. We just can't do that without your permission. So be glad to answer any questions.
So what do you do with old instruments? Give them like Salvation Army or?
Yeah, we can, in this case, we've got an agreement with, or assuming this gets passed, if this gets passed, we have an agreement with somebody that will sell them for us. And then they'll take a small percentage of that, and the remaining will get sent back to the school. A number of ways to do it. If it's something people might be interested in, you can do it that way. You can do an auction, online auction, consignment type of thing. And if it's stuff that people aren't interested in, you can just throw it away. Any other questions?
Do we have a motion?
So in this particular situation, we are going through having somebody else sell them for us versus any other item we might have where we might auction it off or just dispose of it and scrap it.
Yes, the answer is yes. But a few years ago, we had a group or a large lot of things to get rid of, and we had an auctioneer come up and look at it. And in his experience with this kind of stuff, he said, you pay me more than you make, basically. If you make $1 for 10 chairs, and you probably don't sell them all, and then you got to pay him more to come up here and do the auction than that. So in this case, it's a little safer to have this person sell them. That person thinks they have a pretty good idea of who's in the market for that kind of stuff, and then they can recondition.
So he doesn't pay us anything until he gets them, so he doesn't pay us an upfront and says, oh, I'll just give you this much.
Correct. It'd actually be us taking it in, and then we pay him. Like, we'll get the cash, or we'll get the check, and then pay him based on the contract.
Make a motion that we approve?
I'll second that.
And the vote, please.
Mr. Archibald,
Yes.
Mr. Beard,
Yes.
Mr. Caswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maggart,
Yes.
Mr.
Aye.
Mr. Ridenhour,
Yes.
Mr. Sturry.
Yes.
Future meetings, all meetings are held here in this room, the McCutcheon Administrator Center Boardroom at 6 p.m. The next will be April 15th, followed by May 20th and June 17th. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board. Earlier in this board meeting, in the personnel report, you have approved a reassignment for 2 individuals. Those 2 individuals are here tonight. With Mrs. Priller retiring as the principal at Carlin Park, the administrative team and myself, we sat down and decided, in looking at some administrative shifts, and had some great conversations and brought these 2 individuals in on the conversation. So I'm excited tonight to announce Mrs. Nancy Irwin, who's our current principal at Angola Middle School. She'll be shifted over to Carlin Park Elementary. So she's shifted from Hornet to a Cardinal. So make sure you have lots of red. So she's here tonight with her husband, Chris. So stand up just because I'm going to have you do it. Wave to everybody. Secondly, with that shift, that now creates a vacant opening at the middle school. And looking at that, Mr. Chris Bout will be reassigned from Ryan Park Elementary to Angola Middle School. So he will go from a rhinoceros to the Hornets. So get rid of that green and gray and get your purple and gold. So stand up. So thank you. Now, you brought an entourage with you. Mrs. Irwin says, I'm downgrading. You brought the entourage. So since you brought them, please introduce them to us.
If I remember them all, I'll try to do that. All right, so I've got my wife Candace here, and then these are my 2 girls, Dawson, who's a second grader at Ryan Park, and Madden. And then this is my mother-in-law Tammy, and these are my parents, Steve and Karen.
Well, welcome, and we're excited to have you here with us this evening. So we're excited about that. That does create an opening at Ryan Park, and we will get that posted tomorrow. We are anxious to see the candidates who will apply for that, so we're excited to move on with that shift. So with that, Board, it is a few days. The teachers tell me there's a couple days left until spring break. I think they have it counted down to days, hours, and minutes. But today was one of the best days of the year. Dr. Relu and myself, along with a few others in this room, we recognized Teacher of the Year this year in 6 of our buildings, 4 elementaries, a middle, and a high school. We got to shower them with some gifts and balloons and got to interrupt their classrooms a little bit just to spread a little bit of joy. So more information will be coming out there, and we have press releases for all those fun things, but we're excited to get out there and honor our teachers about the great work that they do. So that's what I have in the report for tonight.
Board member communication.
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate our new appointees. I'm certainly excited for the job you guys are going to do. Secondly, I want to recognize our gymnastics team that went down to state and finished third this last Saturday. That program's come a long way. I can remember when we used to have to participate and practice up at the old, I think it's a Mexican grocery store now, the old Thomas Family Center, I think it was, uptown. And I can remember moving that floor all the way from Central Gym and Storage all the way up there just to have gymnastics meets. How worried we were that maybe we weren't going to have a team, and now they're the third best team in the state. So we had a couple state champions off that team in the past, but it's amazing to think that now we're the third best team in the state. I also want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a well-deserved spring break. I hope you all get a chance to relax, enjoy, and I hope it's a safe one, because we all remember what can happen. So that's all I have.
I just wanted to thank Dr. Wiedenhofer for the band and the upgrading of all their equipment and us being able to do that. I know it's, for a program that consistently is in the top in the state, it's great to be able to spend a little money, upgrade their equipment, and do that for them. Congrats to Chris and Nancy on your next endeavor, but you have to finish this year out first. All right, that's all I have. All right, if there's nothing else before the board, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I'll second that.
And all in favor? Aye. Changed it up a little bit. Thank you, everyone.